Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we're here with Mickie Kennedy, PR entrepreneur. And we're here to talk about how to write and disseminate a press release without using a PR agency, which is something that you all want to know. I'm 100% sure. It's going to be amazing. Mickie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Exactly. Yes. So before we get started and talk about how we can write and disseminate a press release without using a PR agency, what do we absolutely have to know about you? The only thing that we know thus far is that you are a PR entrepreneur, which we love already because this group is dedicated to PR, but especially to personal PR. But maybe would you like to tell us how you got started in PR and what your career has been and how you became?
Sure. I'm the founder of eReleases, which is a press release distribution platform. We work with PR Newswire. All of our releases go out nationally through PR Newswire, which normally costs $1,200 to $1,400 for a 500-word press release, and it's substantially cheaper through us because we sort of act as a co-op for small businesses. We don't have as many options as they do, but every release is national, and it also gets tagged for the appropriate industries. I got started with this business about 25 years ago. And I had finished a graduate degree in creative writing and just assumed I'd wait tables and write in the evenings. And I did that for a summer and realized this was not for me. My legs hurt, my knees hurt. My mind was just shot at the end of the day. I wasn't reading, I wasn't writing. So I thought maybe a safe office job would be good. So I was hired at a telecom research startup in DC. And one of the things they said as employee number 3 is figure out press releases and send them to the media. And so we published numbers and statistics, and I looked at what had been published in the past about us, and I realized that journalists want stories. And we have numbers, but we don't have stories behind the numbers, but we also kind of do. So, for example, when I asked the other 2 people there why one country in the Caribbean generates more inbound traffic from the United States than all others combined, they said, oh, that's because they're a big center for 1-900 numbers, which was really popular at one point with call for horoscopes, call for a psychic, just calls for anything as entertainment. And so I fleshed that out in a press release, and the media just loved it. And I got really good at getting us into Washington Post, Financial Times, The Economist, lots of really nice publications. And I found it was kind of easy. Now, what helped us is we were publishing numbers and statistics, which journalists just love data, and they love when you fleshed out analysis from data and things like that. But I was faxing at the time. And a lot of the journalists were calling me and saying, hey, could you email this to me? And I just had an aha moment that email was so easier. You could use a database and send to journalists. And so that was the genesis for eReleases. I spent about another year collecting email addresses and asking journalists if I could send them email. And by, at that time, 25 years ago, it was a novelty. So most of them said, sure, that sounds great. You sure we don't have to pay for this? And it was great. And I was just a matchmaker, putting clients in connection through email to the right journalist. And like I mentioned, over time, we started partnering with PR Newswire, and they really wanted to support small businesses, small PR firms, entrepreneurs and startups. And they currently weren't, because their salespeople aren't looking for customers who are doing 2 to 4 releases a year. They're looking for the big Fortune 500 companies that are doing 20 to 40 releases a year, including international with translations and all of the lucrative revenue that comes from that.
Yes. Wow. This is amazing. So you're telling me that this started 25 years ago. This is crazy, like totally revolutionary at the time. Wow. Well done. You were a pioneer.
Yes.
Wow. This is amazing. And what happened afterwards? Because then usually they say, and the rest is history, right?
Right. So I hired staff, and we had no salespeople. I decided to just hire editors. They're the ones who answer the phone. They're the ones that can best work with customers, explaining how we work, how press releases work. I just found it, less guarded, because I think dealing with salespeople, it turns off, I think, small businesses in particular. And so I have no plans to ever have a sales force, even though I've been told by people that I'm probably leaving a lot of money on the table, but that's just not my personality. I provide a lot of education and resources in addition to the marketing. That seems to be what I do most day to day. Stuff like talking on podcasts here, putting together a free masterclass where I give the winning PR strategies that I'm seeing that are working right now. I really want my customers to be doing more strategic types of press releases, because the more of those they do, the more media pickup and earned media they'll achieve.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, this is amazing. Oh, I'm so impressed. Like, I knew already, I had read up about you, but I didn't know all of these details, and this is super impressive. Wow. I mean, you are newsworthy yourself. You make companies newsworthy, personal brands newsworthy, but you actually newsworthy yourself. Have you got, media coverage actually for your own work?
Yes, we routinely get singled out in publications where they talk about PR and press releases, and especially DIY solutions. We have like a free ebook on how to write a press release. I mentioned the free masterclass that we have. We really do put a lot of tools and resources in front of people. And as a result, we get a lot of links and people referencing us. As the book on writing press releases, I was excited to find out that several universities use it as part of their technical writing course. And one of the sections is on press releases. So they use that book for it.
This is amazing. I already see you as a guest lecturer at a university or a business school.
It's possible. Anything's possible.
It is possible, exactly, with the power of PR and networking, especially when you mix them together. Exactly. You reach explosive growth, right? From one day to the next one, you can already, really explode your brand. This is amazing. But how does press release work exactly? So how can a user typically can join and use the system?
Right. So eReleases, unlike the Newswire, has no membership. It's basically a la carte. You can come in. We do have a new customer special for new customers coming in. And basically, you upload the release, schedule when you want it to go out. You pick the appropriate industries that you want the press release to be tagged or sent to, and then just hit send. We take care of the rest. We don't have all the options that the Newswire has. All of our releases get scheduled for the next business day, not at a particular time, but usually before 9 a.m. Eastern time. And, but you are saving, 60% compared to the Newswire directly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you said that basically you work especially with people who would like to do that PR themselves, right?
We do. We work with a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs, speakers, anybody who has something they want to get out. We work with a lot of authors. It used to be self-published authors, but now we work with authors who are going through traditional publishers. And what's happened is the traditional publishers aren't marketing anymore, or they're only marketing the big brands, the big names. And so these people are left alone. So we work with them as well. And the real great thing about eReleases is that we're able to see what works and what doesn't work, because we're moving 12 to 14,000 releases a year, and because of that volume, we do get to see what releases really get a lot of media pickup, and it's it helps me educating and building these free master classes for my clients on how to do a strategic type of press release.
Yeah, no, this is amazing that you serve these people, because these are exactly the people who are here in the personal PR community. They're all, yeah, exactly. Personal brands that want to do the PR themselves, exactly. So absolutely, they will be thrilled to learn from your masterclass and also from your ebook. And we'll be sure to include all of the links in the comment section of this live. Absolutely. And something else that I wanted to ask you is, without revealing too much, of course, because this is your thought leadership, this is your intellectual property, of course. But what are 2 or 3 things that we should consider in order to write a press release that works?
Right. So I think the most important element is actually not the writing of it, because most people can write a press release. They're very simple, third person. It's not elevated writing for the most part. The important thing is what you choose to write about. And, looking at strategic types of things you could write about. One is doing a survey or study within your industry. It takes a little bit of work, but it's not very difficult. You can easily create a 16-question survey on something like SurveyMonkey, where it's 4 questions per page. If someone stops halfway, you've still got 50% of the responses. And you then do the analysis, figure out what was the most surprising answer you got, and build a press release on the top 2 or 3 aha moments from the survey. I do get pushback from people saying, well, I don't know who to send the survey to. There are thousands, tens of thousands of independent and small trade associations. So look for one that is in your industry and approach them and say, would you send this link to your members? It's for a survey. And if you do, I will include you in a press release I'll be issuing over the wire. The smaller and independent trade associations don't get a lot of love. It's usually the big ones. So they see this as a win for them. They could potentially get some media exposure for themselves as well. It really is a way in which you, being the author of data, can really put together a really good press release. And on average, my customers see between 8 and 14 articles every time they do a survey. There is an important thing. You have to really choose the right questions. So I always say, what is something right now that's going on in your industry, and take your industry's pulse on it. There's a lot of things in transition right now, economic uncertainty. So are you spending more or less on your marketing budget over the next quarter, next 2 quarters? Are you having labor challenges? Are you having difficulties finding people or getting them to work in an office? Or are you on the opposite end, thinking about laying off? There are a lot of things going on that you could immediately take their temperature on and be able to share it, and the media would love it, because this is like really relevant data that's important right now. Won't be important as important in 6 months. So they really understand and jump on this, and really share that with their audience.
Yeah. Oh, Mickie, this is amazing. Wow. And I love this solution that you have just highlighted. And it confirms something that I always say. Maybe you agree as well. Let's see. I always say that PR is a lot about being street smart. Would you agree?
I do. I think that a lot of it is not really academic smarts. It's really just cutting through and explaining what the average person would find of interest. And, there are, and you'd be surprised what they are. I have one of the things that I deal with small businesses is they have an imposter syndrome. They feel like, well, I'm not important enough to get news. I'm just this one guy, or me and my wife are a team that runs this business. And what they don't realize is that journalists they like to be seen as curators. And they like to discover little hidden gems. They don't like writing articles about Microsoft and Google because they can afford to advertise. They really want to, that's why you see so many that will bring to light a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, something that's just sort of novel and interesting. And so I would challenge anybody who feels that PR is not going to work for them to give it a try. Things that you want to do are, being authentic, owning your story. What was the genesis? What was the motivators behind you? I'm sure there's an interesting story there that you could flesh out and build upon and share. What are the obstacles that you've overcome in your business? I had one client that had something embarrassing where they had to cancel their Thanksgiving dinner with the extended family because they had gotten swamped with so many orders. They were going to have to fulfill those during the Thanksgiving weekend. And so we shared the story in a press release, and they got an article written about them in Inc. magazine, and it opened with that the obstacle. And it's, you know, and what that tells you is people identify with, you know, overcoming things, dealing with challenges, and sharing those vulnerabilities makes you authentic. And it's a really a great way to stand out.
Yes. Oh my God. I love this. I love this. And it really seems that you are, this is my impression, maybe you agree, maybe not, but it seems to me that you are on a mission to actually democratize public relations, because public relations, a lot of people think, well, you know, to hire an agency, it's so expensive. Maybe it's a retainer 5K, 10K, 15K per month, right? And of course, I mean, a public relations agency is expensive. We can't deny it, right? But there are other ways as well. And we can kind of empower, I think you and I are on a mission to actually empower people to do their own public relations. They don't need to know the ins and outs, like everything about, you know, public relations. They can know a few, let's say, general principles and apply them, and apply also this street smartness that we talked about, right? And with your help as well, with eRelease, they can already get press releases out to a huge basis of media. So it's incredible what you're doing. So would you agree that you are on this mission as well, and that you share this mission with me to empower people?
Absolutely. I believe that PR should be accessible to anyone. And yes. You know, even if you're starting out and you don't have money to use a service like ours, what you can do is network and pick 2 trade publications, find out who writes about companies like yours, get their email address, and introduce yourself. And you don't have to write a press release. You can just introduce yourself and give them a pitch of a couple sentences why you would be a great person or asset for them to talk to. And, you know, it starts like that, and it works locally as well. Just reaching out to your local newspaper. If you're lucky enough to have a business magazine or business newspaper, finding out who writes within your industry there, introducing yourself, and just contacting them on a semi-regular basis, like quarterly or something like that, with you know, what you're doing right now that they might be interested in. And what you'll find is after a while, when they're working on a story and they need a company to plug in there as an example, they'll think of you and they'll start reaching out to you. It's one of the reasons that you often see the same companies again and again in your local newspaper, because they have a relationship with the journalist, and it's just easier to call on them, and they know they'll get a great quote to put in the story. And that's another really secret thing is I said that the press release doesn't have to be extremely well written, but your quote needs to be. A lot of people don't put a lot of time and energy into your quote, and a quote can really redefine you. If a journalist is looking at 2 stories that are about the same newsworthiness, but one has an amazing quote, they'll jump on that one all day because they can write an amazing story around a great quote. So you want to say something that, you know, can't easily be paraphrased, something that has a little ring to it. You could be creative, you could be concise, you could be powerful. There's lots of options, but just make it stand out.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe would you agree that maybe a quote can even become a soundbite sometimes?
Absolutely. You know, when you say something very succinctly, they're not going to paraphrase it. They're going to pull it out and showcase it.
Yeah, this is amazing. Wow. And thank you so much, Mickie, for highlighting the power of networking. Because if we want to achieve results in public relations, we also have to learn how to network. So, and this is something that I saw a lot of people, especially, so I worked for brands all my life, big brands for 15 years. And I saw that most of my colleagues or my peers were in public relations, were just, you know, in front of the computer, and I was just writing stuff or creating angles and so on, which is something that I love as well. But I spent like, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 hours a day out and about at lunch or coffee, you know, for me, coffee meetings with journalists, like every single day. I know that it's difficult to make the time. I did overtime in order to afford to go and meet journalists. But today with Zoom and so on, it's possible to talk, you know, with journalists personally. And don't just write emails. Would you agree as well? Is this something that you have done too, that, you know, you really try to build maybe sometimes even a personal relationship with journalists?
Sure. Yeah. It's all about building rapport and being human, interacting with another human. And at the core, we all want to like people and to have a relationship with people. So understanding that, rather than being all corporate and distant, be personable, let your guard down, be, like I said, I always say authentic. This is a way in which, relating to someone, you can build a personal relationship with them, and they will come to bat for you if you need them to. And there are things where you often call someone and say, can I ask you to do a favor? And you could do the same thing with a journalist. Say, I'm in a real big crunch here. We really need an article. What are the types of things you're interested in right now that possibly I could see us fitting into? And if they have a great relationship with you, often they will try to make it work so that you can get that article.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so happy that we agree on so many things. Yes. And Mickie, how can we find you, by the way? Because for sure, we are going to include all of your links in the comment section. Okay. And is there any particular way to find you, to follow you? Do you have a preferred maybe platform?
Sure. So the website's eReleases.com. The free masterclass that I mentioned is a great place for anybody to start to do an audit of themselves, what kind of strategic ideas they could do if they decide to build a PR plan. And that's at eReleases.com/plan, PLAN. And all my social media is on the lower right of my website. LinkedIn's the only one that I personally monitor. I have people who handle the rest. But, I think we have a good presence on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Awesome. Wow. Even Twitter. Wow. It's something where I'm not very active. So thank you for being present there. I will have to follow you. And Mickie, I have one last question. Some people, it's a question that I asked all of my guests here on the Personal PR Show. Some people love this question. Some people are like, this is so silly. I don't even understand the question. Let's see how you react. So what is a question that I haven't asked you over the past 27 minutes, but I should have asked you?
Let's see, I guess maybe more about me personally, what's my personal passion and driver, and that would be poetry. The creative writing program that I graduated from 20 some years ago was in poetry, and I picked it up a few years back, again, having taken 20 years off to build a business. And I'm really passionate about that and working on a manuscript that now I'm trying to find a publisher for.
This is amazing. And do you publish your poetry anywhere online?
There are some out there and about, and some small poetry journals and presses and things like that.
Wow. So if you wish, then, I mean, I love poetry. I have a Twitter account where I create poetry, actually, where I post poetry, but nobody knows that it's me. But anyway, so if you want, we can include the links to your poetry as well. If you want to, just let us know, and then we'll include them in case you need to.
Okay,
this is
sounds good.
Yeah. Mickie, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and sharing your authenticity as well, as we've just all, you have just mentioned as well, which is super important. And yes, please come back soon to the Personal PR Show.
Will do. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. And thank you so much for following us, guys. And I'll see you very soon for another episode of the Personal PR Show. Bye. Bye-bye.